Let's turn this video into a trading bot.
In this video, I will show you guys a pretty simple trading strategy on the 5-minute chart.
We need three indicators: the stochastic RSI, EMA 50 and EMA 200. After watching the whole video, there seems to be some form of confusion in all the trade setups that the creator showed. Sometimes he's selling when the stoch RSI is below 20 and other times it's above 80. But going with the majority, the strategy will be when the stoch RSI is above 80 and the price is below the EMA 50 and EMA 200, we sell. And the TP is 1.5 times from the entry. Entry price is the third candle after the breakthrough. So a breakthrough simply means we closed below the EMA 200 and EMA 50. He also mentions that we should not trade when the price is between the EMA 250. I have finished coding this strategy and we have so many settings. I have to take you through each. So starting off is the EMA settings. EMA 1 and EMA 2, 50 to 100, you can interchange them if you need to. Anytime you see a period and it's written as current, it simply means if you put this bot on a 5-minute chart, current will be 5 minutes. If you put this bot on a 10-minute chart, current means 10 minutes. That is what current means, and you'll see that throughout. So if for whatever reason you want to use an EMA 200 on like maybe 1 day while the bot is still working on 5 minutes, you'd change that from current to 1 day, and if you click on it, it has a drop down. So for the stoch RSI, I've kept everything as a default. You can change whatever you need to change, but I'm just using everything that he used. Now for the most important part, so for the lot size, because this bot will technically work on whatever asset as long as it's on MT5, if you put a lot size that is below the minimum that is required, the bot will automatically use the minimum. If you use higher than the maximum, the bot will automatically use the maximum. This is to avoid errors. The most important setting in this whole thing is probably the enable automatic trading. If this is set to false, the bot will not take any trades. You need to set this to true. Enable notifications simply means if you're on your laptop, you're going to hear alerts. If you also configure notifications to be sent to your MT5 on your phone, they will be sent if this is true. If it's false, none of that happens. So the unique bot identifier requires you to give this bot a very unique number from whatever bots are running on your system. This is because that number is what we use to associate trades taken by this specific bot. So let's say you were to put one version of this on M5 and another version on M10. If you do not give them different unique numbers, they will assume that all positions with this, it's usually called a magic number, all positions with this magic number were placed by one bot. So there'll be this like form of confusion, especially because you have implemented a trailing stop loss, which internally means the bot checks last position I opened. And how do I do that? I know the last position I opened will have this specific magic number. That's why we use a magic number. For the breakthrough bars, because the strategy says once we have a breakthrough, we don't get into that trade immediately. We wait for 3 bars when the trade. I've still given you the ability to change this if you need to. If you need to try maybe 5, 1, 0. Now for risk management, given you 2 options. The first option is, the vanilla option of using a TP and an SL. Forget, because you have the trailing SL. It means even if you have the TP and the SL, the bot will keep moving the SL if the trailing stop loss pips are met. And something to note about trailing stop loss is brokers have this thing we call a broker's minimum distance. For example, for the RIV, I think it's 2 pips. So let's say you want to move the SL every time the price moves by 1 pip. If the bot tries to adjust that position, it's not able to because there's that broker's minimum. It has to be 2 pips. And it's different for different brokers. So now, in his video, he's using levels, support and resistance levels to set the stop loss. There's so much I would want to say about support and resistance. When you see a chart with your eyes, technically you're seeing a fixed number of candles on that chart. It could be 200, depending even on your laptop size. If you're on a bigger screen, you're seeing more candles. If you're zoomed in, you're seeing less candles. If you're zoomed out, you're seeing more candles. Okay? To code the functionality of a support and resistance, we need to think about it from math. The first thing we need to consider is how many candles do I need to check that meet the support and resistance levels. As a default, I've given you 50. And on top of that, support and resistance levels are also time frame dependent. In his example, because he's still on the same chart, I've left it to current. But if for whatever reason you wanted your support and resistance levels to be like maybe from a higher time frame. If you change current to whatever time frame you want, let's say H4, for example. And now the other part is, because we have said that default is 50 bars on the chart, we also need a starting point. If we say the starting point is the bar that is currently forming, you could also want to check support and resistance from 2 hours ago, for example. And if this bot is working on M30, you want your start to be 4, which will still go back 50. I know it's a bit confusing, but there's just so much that goes into coding a support and resistance bot. I'm going to make a whole video about this soon. And that's pretty much all that is needed for that strategy to work. I do have some bad news though. So the current chart he's showing is Algo USDT. All the accounts I have for several brokers, I cannot see this as an asset being offered. I would imagine this would be something that's on like Binance. He's showing that he's connected to KuCoin. So that's the bad news. The good news is you can use this and use it on whatever chart. Please let me know if there's a broker that supports crypto but on MT5.